What is up, duelists? Arts and Crofts here, once again bringing you your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT format action. As you can see, I am traveling once again here, this time for the holidays. Merry Christmas Eve to all of you out there who are celebrating. So please excuse the slightly suboptimal microphone quality. Only be for a couple days while I am away from home. But without further ado, let's get into it. We've got two, as always, top 200 rating Duelingbook GOAT format ladder players here. Sarsky versus ID Oh No. Let's hop into it. Little RPS tie action. Sheesh. Okay, Sarsky is going to take it down. Going to choose to go first, as is standard. And they will lead out with just a set back row pass, so very little information given away, not a lot for ID Oh No to work with. We're going to draw for turn, and just lead out with a Heavy Storm, so wanting to clear out this back row ASAP, and it hits a Ring of Destruction. Okay, so still not too much information given away from Sarsky. Ring is pretty much played in every deck in the format, but now the back row is clear for ID Oh No to maybe go ahead and get a play going. It's going to T-set pass there, so interestingly, leading out the heavy without really any way of capitalizing on the lack of back row from Sarsky, so we'll see if they end up, missing having heavy later on in the game. But just getting that 1-for-1 trade, which might totally be fine based on what they have in their hand, and then going to go T-set pass here with a little bit of a tempo advantage. Sarsky here, going to go ahead and normal summon a Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer, and followed up with a Nobleman of Crossout. So paving the way for this Kaiku to connect in for some damage is pretty nice. It's going to banish a Dekoichi, the Battle-Chanted Locomotive. And ID, looks like they're playing at least 2 copies, none for Sarsky. And now Kaiku will get in, but we've got Ring of Destruction from ID just to pop it. Both players will take 18, and no monsters will be on the board left for either player. So both players kind of going for tit for tat here early. Nothing super consequential just yet. Sarsky, interestingly, not playing any Dekoichis unless they just have all of their copies in their hand. But could signify maybe something like a warrior deck for ID Oh No that they're playing against. Sarsky going to add 3 back row here as well. Now that Heavy Storm is gone out of ID's hand, Sarsky can just kind of set everything with impunity. And that's one of the, invisible benefits of not using your Heavy Storm there, is that it'll make Sarsky a little bit less likely to set all of their stuff. But now they have no reason to not set everything, especially when there's no chance of like Magician of Faith or anything. ID Oh No here is going to go ahead and just normal summon Tribe Infecting Virus. Okay, so just looking to get a little bit of pressure down. Sarsky just going to pop that with a Sakuretsu Armor on attack. So once again, another 1-for-1 trade. Board state really getting simplified here. Neither player able to stick any sort of threat just yet. And then ID Oh No is going to play a Card Destruction, which is going to catch a Snatch, Steal, in Sarsky's hand, so that's a card that's nice to know that you no longer have to play around. Similar to Heavy Storm, right? GOAT format is very much about, like, all of the powerful limited spells and traps, and knowing what your opponent might have left in their deck that you have to play around. So every time you see one of them hit the bin, that's one less kind of calculation you have to do in your head when you're deciding what plays to go for. Let's see what ID Oh No has in hand to discard, though. They have a Dead Chaos Sorcerer and a Raigeki Break without any discard fodder, so gonna actually go minus off of this card destruction, but with a hand this weak, I guess it's kind of fine. See if they draw into anything good here in main phase 2. It's gonna set a monster. No, you can't do that. You already normal to try this turn. Yep, Sarsky catching that. Just gonna pass there with the 2 cards in hand. But not much has happened so far this game, but Sarsky up a card thanks to that card destruction, so you're probably pretty happy that ID Oh No seems to have bricked pretty significantly here so far. And now Sarsky has another Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer here into an empty field. Every time you can connect with a Kaiku, you're very happy. You get to banish a couple monsters out of ID Oh No's grave and apply a lot of pressure to ID Oh No's life as well. Back row here to protect it as well. Once again, doesn't have to worry about Heavy Storm, so free to just set everything they draw, as long as they don't run out of space. ID here draws into Snatch Steal. Okay, so gonna go and snatch that Kaiku, but Sarsky does have the MST that they just set to pop that and keep their Kaiku around. So once again, going 1-for-1, and then that monster that ID attempted to set last turn likely is going to get set here. Cool. Starsky, follow up. Just going to go set a back row. Attack in. I guess the idea is you set it first, just in case it is like a morphing jar that you're attacking into. You hit a Night Assailant, though, so that'll just man-eater bug the Kaiku, pop it, and threats have all been answered here from Sarsky's side, but ID's still down a card on what looks like, as I always say, Chaos Turbo until proven otherwise. My guess is we've got Warrior versus Chaos Turbo here. We haven't seen any Warrior monsters out of Sarsky, but the very back row heavy main deck Sakuretsu and the double Kaiku definitely kind of signifies a Warrior strategy to me. ID draws another monster to set, though. Okay. Sarsky just going to set back row pass. And then ID Ono. Okay, we're going to get to main phase 1 immediately. Try and flip summon this Gravekeeper Spy, but that will get negated by Solemn Judgment. Okay, so Sarsky recognizing that Spy resolving against you as, presumably you're playing Warrior is very, very bad because it can wall you out pretty much forever. Unless you find a Chaos or like a Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke if you run those. So Solemning here also protects your life points a decent amount. From further pressure. Not too bad. Nadiono does have another set monster to follow up here, though, so continuing to apply the pressure just with all of these sets. Sarsky had to blow a Solemn Judgment to deal with the most recent one, so might be out of gas, might be out of answers. And Idiono can maybe try and start applying pressure here. Sarsky draws a Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke for turn, though, so pretty much confirmed that they're on a Warrior list here. That is quite good into Gravekeeper Spy, of course. So likely going to see this go in and attack the set monster. Just going to pass, though. Interesting. I'm not sure why you wouldn't attack there, because Idiono is likely just going to flip it up this turn anyway. Okay, so Idiono is just going to go set a back row pass, and that monster not flipping up means that maybe it's a Sangan, maybe it's a Sinister Serpent, just trying to block some damage there. Or maybe it's a Night Assailant. It could be a second Night Assailant. Then ID would flip that anyway. So yeah, it's probably Sangan, probably Sinister Serpent. I guess could be if you're only running 2 spies. It could be the second spy, perhaps, which would have been an unfortunate draw from ID. Or I guess even if it is just a spy, even if you do have the third spy in deck to search, maybe you don't flip it anyway because like the attack position one can just get run over by pretty much any monster, and the defense one is a sitting duck for a Ninja Grandmaster as well. So the read would be Sangan, Serp, or Spy, I think is what this set has to be. ID's going to set a back row, but that will get popped by Dust Tornado in the end phase. Warrior doing what it wants to do, which is just simplify the game state. So the fact that they have big monsters with lots of board pressure and board presence is more impactful. Sarsky just going to go straight to battle phase, attack into the set, so saying, all right, out of all 3 options, I guess it's fine. See, if you're going to just attack here, I don't know why you wouldn't attack last turn. It's kind of my thought. It is just a Sinister Serpent, which, sure, good to know. That can wall out this Ninja Grandmaster pretty much indefinitely. So Sarsky is going to need to draw a little bit more extra pressure here if they want to actually start doing damage to ID's life points. But no monsters here, just going to pass turn. ID can go grab that Sinister back in the standby phase. Set probably that and pass. Sarsky has a breaker here, though, which is quite nice in order to, if it is just a set Sinister Serpent there. 2 monsters means you can start clocking your opponent. I guess just in case it is Gravekeeper Spy, though, you probably attack with the breaker first, even though it has slightly higher attack points. Like, I would rather guarantee myself to kill a spy in case it is that this turn, with the Sasuke attacking second, rather than having the chance to deal an extra 100 damage. That doesn't seem worth it to me. And that's what we'll see. Breaker in first. It is a Magician of Faith, though. Okay, so it is a different set than that Sinister Serpent, but not a spy. Heavy Storm and Snatch Steal in the grave are both quite nice for ID to grab. Likely depends on what they have in hand. Now they do have a light monster in grave as well, which, considering ID hasn't really played too much recently, we know 1 card in hand is Sinister. But I wouldn't be surprised if the other card in hand was a Chaos monster. So now that they have light in grave, maybe you grab the Heavy Storm to clear out the back row and pave the way for your Chaos to come down. Seems like a decent play. Alright, you gonna grab card destruction though. So I guess you have the Sinister in hand to prevent going negative off of it, but I feel like these are just two really powerful cards to have. I guess maybe the idea is now that you have Chaos live, you want to just card D and try and draw into your Chaos, because that's kind of what this deck is meant to do. So I can understand it from that perspective. But passing up on Snatch Steal or Heavy Storm is pretty interesting here, because both I think would be pretty powerful in this scenario. Ninja Grandmaster will hit in for 18 though. Sarsky will be able to pass with lethal on board. So ID may be saying, okay, even if I resolve my heavy or my Snatch Steal, I don't have an answer to the other stuff potentially. So I'd rather just dig for some answers and not die immediately. I guess that's fine. Starsky's going to set another back row. Idiono draws a Thunder Dragon for turn, which is pretty insane when you just grab that card destruction. So kind of paying off here. Obviously didn't know that they were going to top deck that Thunder Dragon, but getting rewarded for it. They're going to get a nice juicy card destruction here. Let's see. Starsky is going to go and card D here. Has a Dead Delinquent duo in hand, so that might have been the one card we saw that they weren't able to use because Starsky just never had two cards in hand. Then we see the double Thunder Dragon and the Sinister, so very valuable card destruction here. Making the call to go with the kind of the riskier play, but getting rewarded by drawing into that T-Drag. Now they'll get a nice full grip of 4 cards to maybe answer Starsky's board. Ooh, and then Starsky is so smartly holding Dust Shoot until after the card D resolution. Because, of course, you have to assume ID is just going to fire off the card D at pretty much the first available opportunity. Modulo Thunder Dragon activation. So you would rather save the Dust Shoot for post card destruction, so that you can actually get value where it matters. Now, interestingly, ID could have played around Dust Shoot, or I guess no, they couldn't have played around Dust Shoot because they had 5 cards in hand at the start of this, or they had 4 cards in hand at the start of this turn. Went up to 5 with the Thunder Dragon. So Zarsky, yeah, just smartly holding it, waiting for the card to resolve and then going for it. And we will see ID's hand is a live sorcerer, a spy, which doesn't match up super favorably against the Ninja Grandmaster, but will buy some time. A Magician of Faith with some juicy stuff engrave still, and a Sangan, which is kind of nice as well. Although if you're Sarsky, I think the biggest threat is definitely that Chaos Sorcerer now that it's live, so you'll probably just spin that one back and just kind of like, take your knocks and deal with the rest of the stuff as you can. Yeah, send back that Sorcerer. Definitely makes sense to me. And now, the hand is Magician of Faith, Gravekeeper Spy, and Sangan. Alright, ID is going to go set a monster pass. Choices between Spy, Faith, or Sangan, I guess all are reasonable sets here. My guess is that it's probably Magician of Faith, because we saw Starsky didn't have any outs as set monsters recently. And so you would love to Faith and grab, once again, Heavy or Snatch Steal, probably. Starsky going to draw for turn, though. Nobleman of Crossout is game-winning. Kaiku is also game-winning. So yeah, that is just going to be... Or unless it's not Gravekeeper Spy. Yeah, and so ID Ono, Spy would have saved you the damage. But I guess getting a little bit greedy there. Hoping Starsky was not going to top deck a monster. And setting either Sangan or Faith. Not going to really matter which one it was there, because you lose in either scenario. But the key choice was not setting Gravekeeper Spy, right? That would have bought ID at least one more turn. Although it's one more turn just to see one more card. You're super far behind, and your opponent's applying a lot of pressure, so I can definitely understand going for the Faith play, hoping your opponent doesn't draw a monster, and then grabbing one of those good spells in your grave to try and answer what they got going on. Now, I guess the thought is, was card destruction the right card to grab off the Magician of Faith? It ended up, even best case scenario, where you top decked a Thunder Dragon to get more discard fodder, it ended up not being great, and you still lost the game. So maybe if you had this one again, had the opportunity again, if you were ID, based on the hand, maybe you just try to grab Snatch Steal and hope you can, snatch the breaker, pop a back row, or something. I guess neither snatch steal play is super strong because you could have snatched the Kaiku, which is just weaker than the breaker with the token still on it. I guess you could have snatched breaker, tried to attack over the Kaiku, and then pop a back row, and just hope your opponent doesn't have like Mirror Force or Ninja Grandmaster. So it's kind of risky, but is it riskier than the card destruction YOLO spin for a new hand? Hard to tell, but ID was definitely in a tough spot there. Warrior doing what it does best, just applying pressure turn after turn, and forcing ID to make these tough calls with kind of suboptimal draws and getting punished for it. We go to game 2 here, though. ID is going to be able to lead out here, likely on Chaos Turbo. Going to start with a Graceful Charity, so getting Trinity right off the bat, and they have a Night Assailant plus Gravekeeper Spy to discard, so Night Assailant effect will trigger to re-add that Spy to hand. So already going up a card, and seeing a lot of their deck very early here. It's quite nice. Upstart Goblin as well. Into T-Set Pass. Very well could be that Gravekeeper Spy, but doesn't necessarily have to be. Sarsky here has a Nobleman of Crossset here on the set, though. It is that Gravekeeper Spy, so pretty big win for Sarsky. Anytime Warrior can remove all the Gravekeeper Spies out of your opponent's deck, you're pretty happy about it. And ID's one of ID's best defensive tools in the matchup is now going to be completely gone from their deck. Oh, interesting. So shuffle. So they must have either they only run 2 or they had all 3 in their hand. That'd be insane. All right, Sarsky here with the empty board minus the back row. It's going to go ahead and normal summon a Blade Knight. It's just a 1600, but going to start applying some pressure. Mirror Force from ID here. Not the biggest threat out of Sarsky, but just saying, okay, let me just not take any damage here. Maybe you like the rest of your hand, so you're fine just going for a, not anywhere close to maximum value Mirror Force, I guess. But definitely didn't have to do this, but totally fine option, especially if, you have a lot of flip monsters that you don't want to get killed by Blade Knight, I guess. Although you could always just Mirror Force later on. Alright, and then Sarsky is going to set a back row pass, having used their normal summon for the turn. But ID, able to answer that Blade Knight, has a little bit of a tempo advantage here, thanks to going first. As we saw, they're already up a card, thanks to that Night Assailant plus Graceful Charity combo. We're going to get another T-set pass. Sarsky this time has the Dust Tornado to pop the back row, which is a Raigeki break, and they're going to use the Dust Tornado's second ability to set another back row. Okay, we'll see if that's something juicy. King Tiger Wanghu out of Sarsky, so potentially anticipating ID to either be running Scapegoats in the main 40, even though we didn't see it the first game, or siding them in. That is quite a common strategy for Chaos Turbo main decks nowadays, is to have a little bit of Scapegoat Metamorphosis stuff to side into more of a control deck in games 2 and 3 against beatdown decks like Warrior. So Sarsky potentially anticipating that and bringing in the King Tiger just in case. Going to be the normal summon for the turn, though. And we have Premature Burial to revive Blade Knight as well. Now, this will be a 2,000 attack point Blade Knight, so quite strong, but without the ability to negate flip monsters. Now, the interesting thing for Sarsky, though, is ID likely has a Gravekeeper Spy in hand, because you hit the knock. At least one Gravekeeper Spy in hand, right? Because you knocked a Spy turn 1, and ID didn't banish any. And notably, King Tiger and Blade Knight both do not get over Spy. So you might be overexposing yourself here just to run into a wall, and then ID will have the opportunity to just answer your board pretty effectively. We'll see, though. Going for that Blade Knight. Gonna attack into the set. It is a Dekoichi. Okay, so ID is going to be able to cycle for a card at least. And King Tiger will get in for 1700. Alright, so ID choosing not to play... Choosing not to play Gravekeeper Spy to wall out, just going for the cycle. Going to take a little bit of damage, but not the end of the world. Sarsky is going to just going to pass there. ID tops decks an Upstart Goblin. Cool. And then just going to set a Monster Pass. Gotta expect a Gravekeeper Spy at any point here if you're Sarsky. Going to set a back row, attack in. Setting a back row to buff up Blade Knight. But going to attack into a Magician of Faith, which can just re-grab this Graceful Charity, which if you have dead Spies in hand is really strong just to get rid of them and get some stronger stuff. So another Graceful Charity will likely come through here for ID on next turn unless Sarsky has a Solemn and chooses to Solemn it. But in the meantime, the dastardly duo of Blade Knight plus King Tiger are continuing to whittle down ID's life points turn after turn, dropping ID down to 4,600. ID's going to go lead out with that Graceful Charity, discarding another Knight Assailant and another Gravekeeper Spy, so getting the same combo here. Although we'll see, Knight Assailant could grab any copy of Spy, Knight Assailant, Faith, or Dakoichi. Basically every flip in the deck is in the grave for ID, so plenty of options here. My guess is... So the annoying thing is, they don't have any spies in deck to summon with their own spy. Right, but spy is pretty good at walling out the opponent, and you are slowly losing life points every turn. Faith would be nice in order to Graceful Charity again, but it doesn't protect your life points. So the choice is really, I feel like, between Spy or Faith. You could maybe go Knight Assailant just for the Maneater bug effect, which actually doesn't sound super terrible. I think Dakoichi is just a worse Faith in this scenario, though. Although, maybe you don't grab the Faith if you want to summon Chaos this turn, because Faith is your only Light Engrave. So that could be, if you want to just draw into some good stuff while keeping Chaos alive, maybe you do grab the Dakoichi. So it really is going to depend on what, I think any of these picks here are reasonable out of ID, depending on what's in their hand. So we'll see what they go for. Tough choice for sure. Gonna grab that Spy back, so going just for pure defensive power, which I think makes sense to me. We've got MST to pop one of the back row, which is just a Pro Set Heavy Storm. Okay, interesting play there from Sarsky, but gonna eat that MST. ID could have, of course, MST'd the Premature Burial to blow up the Blade Knight, but I guess I think this play signifies that you probably have a Chaos Monster in hand and you just want to remove some of the back row to make it more likely that it will resolve. Yeah, so let's see. Blackluster Soldier on Void the Beginning coming down here for ID. Going to go ahead and banish that King Tiger. Then we have Zombira the Dark, another very solid side deck option against Warrior. Kind of the way things stand today, turbo decks, when they're planning to play against Warrior and planning what to side deck in, they generally have to make the choice between, okay, do I want to do like the Scapegoat Metamorphosis side deck plan, or do I want to do like the Zombira Sakuretsu Armor Solemn Judgment plan? So ID here, bringing in the Zombira. You definitely could bring Zombira and also Scapegoat in meta. That's definitely possible as well. But we haven't seen any of the goat stuff just yet. And Zombira is hitting the board here, is big enough to beat over this Blade Knight, which is why you bring it in. So quite strong turn here so far. Interestingly, summoning... I guess you might be playing into Mirror Force here if you go Zombira, attack Blade Knight, and that could pop your BLS and your Zombira, which would be really bad, of course. So you could have maybe played around this by just going main phase 1, summon Zombira, kill the Blade Knight, main phase 2, summon BLS. Although that does kind of play into Torrential Tribute a little bit more, I guess, but not significantly more than this play does. So ID potentially playing into Mirror Force here. We'll see if they get punished. Oh, they're just going to not attack with Zombira, saying, I'm just going to summon the Zombira just to get another wall on board. Make it so you have additional stuff to deal with. Even if you can answer the BLS, you can't just attack me for free. And then just not playing around Mirror Force, saying, I'd rather play it safe, next turn banish the Blade Knight with my BLS, and Zombira's just here for a little bit more defensive security, not going to risk the Mirror Force attack. Now you might think, okay, if you want to play around Mirror Force, why don't you just summon BLS in defense position? But the issue is, as we saw in Game 1, Sarsky is running Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke, which could then just pop your BLS if it's sitting there in defense. So if you're playing Chaos and you're playing against Warrior, you want to summon your Chaos in attack position to play around Ninja Grandmaster most of the time. Sarsky here, though, pretty formidable board to deal with. You just have this lone Blade Knight on your side of the field. You have a Zombira of your own here, which you can trade with the opponent's Zombiras, so kind of interesting. Don't always see that brought in as Warrior against Turbo, but it is at least one way of dealing with your opponent's Zombiras, so for that reason, I guess it can make sense. And we're going to get Snatch Steal on the BLS. Okay. So this is a potentially really big turn here for Sarsky. Pretty massive board. If you steal the BLS, you can go Zombira, crash into Zombira, attack in for game, right? And we'll get to battle phase. BLS will attack the Zombira, and that's just going to be game there. So ID, lots of cards in hand. Went for the big BLS play, but just didn't really have anything to back it up. Just a set Jar of Greed, yeah. Jar of Greed, unfortunately, not always great against aggressive strategies, because as you can see here, that one turn that you didn't have a real card really ended up mattering. And Sarsky, pretty solid 2-0 win. Chaos Turbo losing to a warrior strategy. Warrior very much designed to take on Chaos Turbo. Lots of anti-meta stuff like the King Tigers, the Blade Knights, the Ninja Grandmasters coming through. And, playing it basically super textbook, taking it down in a nice, clean 2-0. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll catch you next time.